All right. So I noticed on this iPad, there's like a little square that comes up because I like hold onto it and my thumb's on it. See, in their world, they'll be psych-opping people thinking that I have some knock iPad that I'm passcoding with a. I'm not. I don't think that. That's the QAnon's like weird shit. So, anyways, in negative plays, I like to give people real information. So, public daycare solution to child abuse. Essentially, there was issues, the potentials for Mormon daycares and pedophile daycares and Christ-based daycares having this issue being prevalent. And then this essentially includes also corporate daycares. Basically. And then essentially there's like during COVID, essentially there was pedophiles that were like getting married and then being seemingly normal and then starting whole daycares, and then they were abusing children and grooming them into silence and shit. And that then there's similar issue here, right? So one of the things about this is this sits on the veil outside of governance. And so since it's government's job to be protecting children from this, then before and after school daycare solutions have a potential since these people already charge money to the parents. Potentially a before and after school could charge parents for a similar, safer version. Basically. And since most of their schools will be in their neighborhood on their way to work and in the neighborhood on their way home, then it will be strategically placed. Right? So, let me tell you some potentials for an expanded idea that I do research on. This relates to some of this. A lot of these children are used for these cop gangs to blackmail into dark web with. So supplemental learning with teachers, okay? So the potentials for before and after school are a potential for teachers to potentially have more jobs available, and then for them to act as tutors and also supplemental audiovisual video teachers in some of my demonstration art theoretics of audio and visual and video. And that teachers could potentially be trained at what would be a more prep school way, and that some of those students might benefit from a basic regular school teacher style, and that then if they're failing even with a tutor, then potentials for them being a prep school style learner. And then those teachers that do that, then potentially if they do the prep school style supplemental learning, then they have experience that could segue them to private schools, right? So it could be something that would be beneficial to teachers and students, okay? And so then it has the elimination of the potentials for people with their weird religious issues that seem to get in the way of being a responsible babysitter. Okay, it eliminates it. So there's potentials for tax offsets. The whole idea is that these and corporations essentially run as profitable. That profit could be pushed back into the public school and could lower levies, basically. And that then there's a potential for management corps of the public daycare, for a potential for private management companies. basically. Then that could be a profitable business that could be created also with some sort of government contract or something. Potentials for low nutrition elimination. A lot of this stuff can potentially feed the child like a normal idea, but that there's potentials for eliminating in nutrition. There's also potentials for building a sliding scale in this way, basically. Now then, the issue that CPS deals with all the time can potentially be like eliminated, and the parents that are poor can guarantee 2-3 meals a day for the child. See if they come and pick them up at 5 or 6 o'clock. Essentially, they can be fed dinner. If they drop them off in the morning, they can be fed breakfast. They could be. It can potentially pay for itself, right? And they can be lunch at school. It's like, then it clears out a whole backlog in the CPS. Essentially, the main stuff that CPS deals with is low nutrition with children. And so the elimination of the low nutrition then frees up CPS for doing what CPS should be doing, which is figuring out ways to minimize child abuse. Okay? It also gives them a potential public, representative inside of the public daycare at each school that instead of going to a centralized office could literally be at the school, basically. And then there's potentials for them to be training students on stranger danger and that basically to fill up their day with something to do. To be building protective ideas in the child. So then there's also potentials for like whole side new ideas of like, Bill Gates wanted to do charter school research kind of stuff. There's potentials for broad data to be pulled from this, to be thrusted back into public education from something like this as a testing ground. And so that type of stuff is a potential. And that then, essentially, what could come of this is to make geniuses out of public schools. Okay? I came out of public school. I went to 2-year school. I went to public school my whole life. And I am a genius. Well, I wouldn't really attribute it to that. But yeah, that's just me. But there is a real genius building method. They have dumb rich kids. Okay, they have dumb rich kids. They go to prep schools. And by the time they get out, they could probably be on some sort of spectrum of genius. Okay, so there's a real way to build genius or smartness. Prep schools do that. Lots of those rich guys and rich kids are fucking dumb, okay? A lot of them are. And that then the prep school is tasked at making them smart. That's what those rich people pay for. And so there's potentials for utilizing similar genius building methodologies or smart building methodologies in a generic way, in a boilerplate generic way. And so that's where, that's what this would be, okay? But yeah, I didn't go to any prep school or anything, but